Hi all, welcome to this presentation on Cyber Range as a Service from TSI. I'm Charles Reynolds, CTO of TSI. A quick joke, it's crass how cyber ranges are typically rolled out, so we use our Cyber Range as a Service CRaaS as a way to bring it all under control and make it a better experience for all. Let's get started on our journey to a better cyber experience. In this webinar, we will take a look at cyber ranges and how best to efficiently deploy them for those who need access to cyber production environments for a wide range of use cases. We will cover the definition, challenges, how best to approach delivering, and the value of implementing cyber range as a service. So, what is a cyber range? A cyber range replicates production IT environments on demand for cyber training and other IT hardening activities. It must cover and replicate the production IT infrastructure, the IT applications, test equipment, test security tools across the entire organization. It also needs to specify and handle all of the training and stakeholders needed to basically implement the range, from management, admins, content developers, and of course the end users. Now that we've shared a multitude of the cyber range use cases, let's review each of the stakeholders and the tasks that are part of the cyber range deployment. IT cyber range admins have complex tasks and responsibilities. In our experience, admins spend weeks and sometimes months building out a range, only to have it used for a few days and then it is torn down. This process gets repeated over and over, and in almost all cases is a total start from scratch task. Having cyber range as a service can cut the setup time from weeks down to minutes. Content developers for cyber rangers, whether for learning environments or exercise environments, need to be able to rapidly reconfigure content based on end user needs. Having the flexible cyber range where they can easily bring in new tools, processes, and capabilities without the need for redesign can be a boon to delivering new content quickly, as is needed in many cases. Management concerns about the cyber range typically comes down to cost and performance and the trade-offs between them. Capturing and presenting this information, not just the data, is critical to the lifecycle planning and funding for your cyber range. And finally, it is all about the end user. Whether a new student to the cyber world or an experienced senior red team lead, the system has to meet their needs of being easy to use, as real world as possible, and available rapidly as needed. Okay, so what are the challenges to delivering a cyber range? Here's some of the ones that we've encountered, but we're looking for your thoughts as well. Are there any we've missed? How would you rank each of these? Please think about these in terms of your own challenges. If there are some that aren't here, please reach out to us, as we are always looking to learn from our end user community. So supporting multiple use cases, handling the lifecycle management, being able to take care of the access and users quickly and easily with a self-service portal and scheduling, reserving, automation of all the complex setups and tasks, and others that you might come across. So I want to talk about the service framework approach, a powerful and capable framework service tool with cloud and hardware support and infrastructure automation software that makes it incredibly easy for businesses to create efficient and effective cyber ranges. So to start, once you have your framework tool installed in your lab or data center, it can go and do a complete discovery and bring in a complete inventory of all the equipment and devices that make up your cyber range lab. Then you will need a simple and easy to use visual modeling tool that allows you to drag and drop IT infrastructure components and tools and applications and services onto a visual canvas for building cyber range environment blueprints that represent different cyber environments that will be used for your cyber range exercise or training platform. Think of it as a live Visio-like sandbox. These blueprints can then be published to a self-service catalog and made available to end users on demand with self-service deployment. When a user chooses to deploy a blueprint, the framework's automation and orchestration software will handle all the configuration, provisioning, and setup of those environments automatically. And lastly, since everything is captured in the framework, business intelligence analytics and metrics can be easily pumped out to measure the performance of your cyber infrastructure. We sometimes call this environments as a service or lab as a service because what we're doing is essentially turning your lab or data center into a self-service cloud so you can get all the benefits of automation and scalability, efficiency, multi-tenancy, and sharing. So we talked about the resources of your range. Inventory is really where you start your journey of converting your cyber range into a service. This is where we load all of your existing resources and your IT infrastructure into a framework resource database. This includes physical equipment and resources, virtual and cloud assets, applications, IP address pools, and services like VLAN service and security policies. Resources are loaded into the framework database as discrete, reusable objects that become inventory items used to create cyber range blueprints that users will consume. Because of the model-based approach, the framework can figure out the appropriate model for each asset, i.e. is it a server, a storage array, a network switch, an application, or service. In addition, the inventory onboarding process can be automated and integrated with business process workflows. For example, a new IT asset shows up on the loading dock. It is then unboxed and scanned for details such as model and serial number. An asset tag is attached. The device is then racked and powered on in the lab and becomes immediately available. The framework, if capable, can use autoload automation and synchronizes with the DSIM database and populates the inventory item into the framework so that it can be used in modeling blueprints. This makes it very easy to bring on new devices and add them to our cyber and production networks equally. Next, we'll talk about modeling cyber range blueprints. The process of creating a cyber range blueprint is really quite simple. It is based on the premise that the cyber environment designer should be able to just drag and drop elements from a resource and app catalog onto the canvas, both physical and virtual assets, and connect them like you would draw on a diagram in Visio or even on a napkin. Each element, these are called shells, has pre-configured automation capabilities, and once the layout is complete, all you have to do to publish it to the self-service catalog so that it becomes available for all users to consume. Here we might have a standard production network with domain controllers, exchange servers, and real traffic generators as a standard blueprint that the end user can configure for their users, domains, roles, and privileges to replicate their real production network. Once we have all of our blueprints, basically cyber range templates, built, we can then publish them to the correct user community so that the users can, through a self-service portal, select environments to spin and conduct their cyber range activities within. This allows for a tremendous ROI and reuse, ease of use, and capturing of business intelligence on your cyber range infrastructure. An example of a framework catalog like this is the Cisco DevNet Sandbox portal. One can easily spin up a lab infrastructure of Cisco gear and consume it rapidly. Anyone can sign up for this free and use Cisco devices and labs in minutes for a variety of use cases, including cyber and security. The next stage is for an end user to deploy the blueprint from the catalog and turn it into an active sandbox or cyber range. So let's go over this in an example. In this topology, we represent a cyber range environment used in a security training platform. The environment is composed of an application with several tiers and infrastructure service such as mail and file servers that will be configured at setup time by the framework's orchestration. All the virtual components have been deployed in a cloud or even in multiple clouds and automatically connected using VLAN networks. There is also a set of test tools used to simulate an attack and detect the intrusion, such as Breaking Point and a Snort IDS server. A user might launch an attack, then run the analysis, and then reconfigure some of the devices with updated security policies as part of an automation workflow that may be interactive or even API driven. And lastly, the resources within the cyber range sandbox can all be accessed with its native viewing of each resource with a single click, whether RDP, VNC, Secure Shell, Telnet, Web, or other interface, all from your browser, making access to all VMs and resources, applications, services easy and standard. Another critical aspect for the admin user is to get visibility on how resources are being consumed. A framework solution with the ability to capture that information provides the ability to run advanced interactive reports and give insight on virtual and physical resource consumption over time. This is a key component to ensure that assets are being used at the most efficient rate and the lowest cost. For instance, I'd like to find out how many VMs were deployed over my cloud the last month, from which sandboxes and by whom, or what is the trend of capacity consumption over the last 6 months. Other types of reports available out of the box include test result dashboards to provide a single pane of glass for your application certification. So what is CyberRange as a service? First, it is an environment that is vendor agnostic with regard to items within the CyberRange, where those items exist in what we call a sandbox. Second, it is an easy-to-use self-service portal through the web with APIs and automation to support provisioning, orchestration, and configuration management automation of everything in the sandbox or your CyberRange. Third, it handles the deploying of the sandbox to almost any native data center or cloud or even multiple cloud environments. This means that hardware in the loop with virtual resources all connected and running together to deploy your CyberRange and scale as needed. So let's take a look at the features of a CyberRange as a service implementation. So why, you ask? The number one reason is speed and the responsiveness and repeatability of the environment. Being able to support the change of technology is also very high. Being able to handle different clouds and provision across different implementation services. Baselining and provisioning of things as well. Lessening the administrative burden is huge. IT admins are expensive, so lessening the need for them has a large ROI, not to mention they're hard to find. Making it easy to change and implement different infrastructure and automation. Broadening the use case and use case adoptions across your organization, making it easy to consume, supporting scaling and enterprise level domains and roles, making better utilization of your CyberRange infrastructure, scheduling and reserving out into the future the infrastructure more efficiently, even saving power with scheduling and spinning up and spinning down resources, and making it easier to implement metrics and analytics on our environments. So let's summarize the primary advantages of turning your CyberRange into a service cloud that we've been talking about. We talked about the challenges of the ways that CyberRanges are traditionally delivered and accessed, and if you compare the CyberRange as a service approach that we've been discussing with the traditional approach, the primary benefit is really about agility and speed. Agility and speed are the only way that an organization is going to be able to respond to the pace of change in the cyber world they're facing today. So if we look at the time to design an environment with a visual model-based approach, we're looking at reducing that time from hours to minutes. The traditional approach of an IT ticket request or managing emails with some admin to a web-based service cloud approach is a reduction in hours to minutes. And the major accelerator, the automation and orchestration-based approach to fulfilling these requests from a primary manual approach can truly mean a change in months to minutes. No more racking and stacking, rather a shared cyber center or cloud that is automated and dynamically configured to handle on-demand requests from end users. And then the unified sandbox approach to consuming these CyberRange environments with one-click live access to resources, access to tools, and API-driven access makes it incredibly simple to consume what are most typically very complex environments. Everything the end user needs is going to be available directly from the CyberRange sandbox. And lastly, support for multi-tenancy and scaling out to multiple users means that you can extend your CyberRange to reach users, groups, and teams in different departments, locations, and even geographies. So let's take a look at a few examples of some different types of CyberRange use cases implemented in a CyberRange as a service format. Here we have an example of a CyberRange for use in a training an end user on how to run and use Nmap in a cyber exercise. The Range Sandbox has both virtual and physical devices and automation for performing complex tasks beyond the scope of the intent of the class, but necessary for the student to learn and be successful in a real-world application. Support for complex traffic generators from companies like Ixia and Keysight can be deployed and used by the end user with little or no training and provide real-world and example malwares needed for effective training and exercises. An embedded LMS and support for different LMS vendors with LTI integrations is needed for different Cyber Range as a Service implementations. Large exercises can be shared user environments, easily facilitated and reused without having to rebuild them between yearly or large exercise cycles. These have hundreds of physical and virtual devices to replicate your exact production network. These large exercises can support multiple views and end-user experiences, supporting blue and red and white team roles. In this case, the SCADA cyber engineer only sees the devices that he or she has control over within the entire exercise. Here we have an example of a hybrid classroom environment of virtual and physical devices where the instructor can spin up the student environments, configure them for the day's class labs, and deploy them for students, all with a few clicks of a mouse. This can support both online and traditional classroom settings. The content developer or class developer can rapidly build training instructions, reporting, grading, and other items, as well as the automation for the cyber training environment as well. Here we see an example of a production network that can be configured and spun up with orchestration and provisioning of the virtual devices to facilitate a custom production network with different IP subnetting, different user domains, users, and roles. This way, the Cyber Range replica can be an almost exact replica of your production network. The framework tool could support multiple automation and configuration management tools such as Ansible, PowerShell, Bash, Puppet, Chef, and Python, and many others. It can even support multiple deployment paths by supporting one cloud today and another cloud the next day. Here we have a bare metal infrastructure Cisco ACI example, a hyper-converged environment that we need to deploy our Cyber Range environment on top of. Here we can spin up and deploy a vCenter or OpenStack cloud with complete automation, making deployments and scaling of our Cyber Range easy, repeatable, reusable, as well as resilient and expandable over the entire enterprise. Your content and application developers can also use the environment to automate CI and CD flows, continuous integration, continuous development flows around your cyber exercise and training content development, increasing the velocity of cyber use cases and delivery from your Cyber Range, supporting all of the different CI and CD flows in industry today. Here we can add a third-party cyber training content from leading training content suppliers such as CyberScore, so you can augment their great training content with your own exercise and training content built for your use case, as well as adhering to things like the NIST NICE roles of training. As an example, CyberScore comes complete with performance scoring as well, so that your training and exercises get performance feedback and a grade on how well the participants have done. Cyber Range environments can also be spun up to support things like flyaway kits for cyber incident support engineers to complete SOC activities remotely on different platforms as needed. Cyber Ranges also can be provided to different groups with multi-tenancy controls to keep users segmented within different organizations across entities. These can even be branded to support OEM-based cyber product offerings from different systems integrators. One can even have an OT Cyber Range for your production environment to help with your OT cyber activities, basically automated cyber OT dashboards for your SOC. Many thanks for your attendance to today's presentation, and hopefully those of you who reach out and contribute back to us. For those who wish to learn more, please reach out to us in one of the many ways above. Our white paper detailing how to implement Cyber Range as a service is available on these links. Happy cyber ranging. Thank you again.